a teenage film snob, baby. I was a teenage film snob, baby.
Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighbourhood film snob. It's been a while since I've done an intro like that. For the last few weeks, we have been focusing on why you should watch films with lower scores. We're taking a break from that. I've been pretty flat out at home and at work, so it's been harder to get time to prepare those, but we will be back with those soon. I can also confirm I have a Nick Owen episode coming up very soon as well. He and I have watched a couple of spooky movies and we want to talk about them, so I think next week we can record that one. Maddie is taking a bit of an extended break. Everything's okay. I'm sure she'll talk about it when she gets back, but she just needs a bit more time off, so hopefully we'll see her back on the show soon, but certainly nothing to worry about. I also have some returning guests. I'm puffed out. I'm currently recording while on the treadmill. So if you can hear that whirring noise in the background, that's me trying to get into shape. I've got a couple of guests coming up. I won't announce it just yet until it's recorded, but someone coming back to the show, a guest I had so much fun with last time, she's going to come back and we're going to talk about some really fun stuff. So hopefully we'll see her soon as well. And I'm going to do some guest appearances, locking in dates, but I'm going to show up on a podcast I've done a bunch of times before, and I'm looking forward to that one. I've got something coming up in December, which I really need to start preparing for, so I can go and do that one. And then there's a new show, one that's I've only got a few episodes. I'm going to be appearing on that one, but I'll let you guys know more once I have the information and it's been all recorded and stuff like that. So, with that all said and done, it begs the question, what are we going to talk about this week? Well, we could talk about my video games because I have played a little bit more. I've been playing through Metroid Prime on Switch, a game that I loved as a kid but was never very good at because it was so challenging. Now as an adult, I'm a lot better at it and I've almost finished it, but as you can see, I've kind of run out of things to say there about that already. So instead, what this is going to be is kind of a part two to an episode I did all the way back in 2024. I want to say June of 2024, maybe July of 2024. Episode 92 and 93, I think they were, if not 92 and 93, 93 and 94. I did two mental health episodes. One documenting to my wife my trip to the emergency room, and then a follow-up episode where I talked about my battle with mental health and identity throughout my teenage years and stuff like that. So this is going to be like a PS to those episodes. But before we do that, oh boy, should I have recorded on the treadmill? And I know what you're thinking, James, just stop. No, we're going to persevere. I need to get my 20,000 steps in, so we're going to keep going. I'm just going to be very out of breath and taking big drinks. And from a sound quality point of view, this might be the worst episode ever. But that's okay. So, I just hit 6 months on my weight loss journey. I haven't done an episode talking about it in a while. I post about it once a week on Instagram. If you follow the Instagram, you'll see on Monday mornings or Sunday afternoons if you're in the States. I do little weight loss updates, tracking how much I've lost, if I've lost anything. I also document anytime I don't lose anything. I document when I put weight on. And I usually throw in a few little bits of information as to what I did during the week and why the results might be the way they are. But I am now officially 6 months in. So this past Monday, so when this drops, will be a full week since I did my most recent weigh-in. I hit 6 months. I started with a weight of 83.7 kilos, which is like 186 pounds or something like that. And I'm now down to 71.6 kilos. So I've lost 12.1 kilos, which is like 28 pounds or something like that. So not bad for 6 months. It's like 2 kilos a month, which is 4 pounds a month, which is a pound a week, which is pretty average. That's standard. That's what they recommend. So I had a big chunk of weight loss early on and then plateaued a little bit around Easter because I got stuck into the chocolate, and then lost a little bit more and then plateaued again just because I wasn't exercising. The whole approach to weight loss I'd had earlier this year was focused mostly on diet, and then because of my sedentary job and having kids and stuff like that, try not to exercise too much because there just wasn't time to do it. But I realized recently that I needed to kick it up a notch to keep the weight loss going. The good thing is, by increasing my exercise, I'm allowed to eat more food as well. So my calorie deficit has gone up, which is nice. Deficit's gone up. I can eat more calories than I could previously. So previously I was consuming about 1,500 calories. Now I can eat up to 2,000 calories, which is monumental. It makes a huge difference. I'm still probably not doing that every day, but I will make room for a little treat at the end of the day if I haven't hit my calories. So that's kind of fun. So I'm now doing 20,000 steps a day, Monday to Friday. As you can hear the treadmill beneath me. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I just try to get 10,000 in. I can't expect to get 20,000 steps in on a weekend. Things are really busy when you got kids and family stuff. So I have started going on walks though. So generally Saturday morning or Sunday, generally in the morning, but if not the morning, then at the end of the day, once everything's done, there's a pretty nice walk where we live, and I'll take the dogs, I'll take my baby, and we'll go out for about an hour and get some extra steps. And I find that most weekends, since I started doing this, I'm getting about kind of 10 to 12,000 steps in, which is pretty good, more than I was getting previously. I've also started doing push-ups. I was talking to a long-time friend of the show, Roy, aka Jacob Honeybrook, because he's big into weightlifting and he's a real gym rat and stuff like that. He's ripped AF, as the kids say. And I told him that I'm doing between 100 and 150 push-ups a day, Monday to Friday, and he was pretty impressed with that. So again, that's helping with the weight loss as well. And my first real victory, not first real victory, I mean, look, 12 kilos is nothing to sneeze. That's really exciting. I've got a lot more to lose that I'd like to, but I had a huge victory this week when my tracksuit pants, or if you're American, sweatpants, fell down while I was walking. And I explained to my wife why that was funny, because they have elastic in them, so they shouldn't fall down. I had to buy new pants this week, and for the first time in over 15 years, I wear a size small, which is kind of exciting. I've always been medium, pushing large. Previously, my mediums, were stretching because I wouldn't accept the fact I probably needed a large, and now I'm down to a small. So that's been quite the win for me as well, as far as the weight loss stuff goes. So there's that. That's one thing I want to talk about, because I haven't talked about my weight loss in a little bit. And I know a lot of people do actually enjoy it. When I first started talking about the weight loss journey, I was very careful not to talk about it too much, because I know what it's like, both as the person trying to lose weight and the person who's friends with someone trying to lose weight. And it very quickly becomes a dominating part of their personality. And I just didn't want to be the person who was like, I have nothing to talk about now except for my weight loss. So I've been trying to pull back on it. But I do get a lot of feedback each week when I put the posts up. I do hear from people a lot of, obviously kind words and kind responses, but also people saying, it's really great that I don't shy away from the bad weeks. One of my friends said, most people just show the before and after, but they don't show what happened on the journey from before to after. So they really liked that I did that. And I had someone else who, I wouldn't go as far as say as a friend, not because I don't like them, just we don't know each other very well, and I never want to assume. But she was saying that she really liked that I take ownership of where I went wrong. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty big on that. So I'll keep posting up on a weekly basis. I was going to do a video, but I just haven't had time to do one. And like in the mornings, cause I walk on the treadmill while I'm working. Obviously, I'm not working right now, but when I am working, I can do the treadmill and work at the same time. I've got a standing desk. And my thing is, I'd rather, instead of stand still for 20 minutes and shoot a video, that's 20 minutes I could be walking, getting my steps in. So, that's kind of where I'm at. So I will do a video at some point, maybe in a couple of weeks' time. But I'm also down to medium-sized T-shirts comfortably. There are a couple that are a little bit tight, but they're not tight in an uncomfortable way. Previously I wouldn't put T-shirts on because they were tight, and tight shirts accentuate everything. And I guess I wasn't very happy with what it was accentuating. But now I'm in a place where it does show off the progress I've made. And whilst, it's not quote unquote the ideal aesthetic, and that's not what I'm chasing, for the record, it's definitely not a bad thing. Like, it looks, I'm happy. I'm getting much happier with the way I look, and I'm getting that confidence back as well. So coming down to mediums was has been fun. It's been nice. It's been nice going back into the cool clothes I used to have before I gave up. So there's that as well. This won't be a particularly long episode, by the way. You can probably tell by now that walking and talking isn't my strong point, and I'm going to run out of breath before I have anything else to say. But I did say this is going to be a PS to an earlier episode, so I will touch on that quickly as well, because I've had another victory. I've had a few victories. I don't want to seem gauche. Like, I know it's, it's not really the done thing in Australia to talk about all your victories and to brag and to show off, but I've been working really hard this year on, my physical health. But for the last couple of years, I've been working really hard on my mental health as well. And I did drop a couple of mental health episodes before I went to Scotland, and I got a lot of positive response there as well. And I always like to be open about it, and I feel like I haven't really been talking about it much lately. I did a little bit last year. I had some stuff going on, and I kind of didn't go into too much detail about what was happening, but I did kind of very openly say that I was having a tough time, and if people could reach out and say nice things, that would make, that would help me out, and a lot of people did. So even though I'm not always discussing exactly what's going on, I do try to be as open as I can about mental health. But if you've heard episode 93 and 94, or 92 and 93, whatever they were, one was called, what was it called now? Oh my God. A Cure for Mental Wellness, I think it was. And the other one was like a History of Silence, I think it was called. So those are the episodes. So they're in the 90s. They were before the big radio play episode. You can find them pretty easily if you go through the history. But I detailed the events of what happened where I was at work, and on my break I started to have heart palpitations, and my heart rate was really fast, and I was struggling. I wasn't trying to breathe, but I was just feeling very anxious and uncomfortable, and I couldn't get it down, so I called the nurse on call, and the nurse on call was like, look, just lie down, and if you're still having, if you're still feeling uncomfortable and feeling your heart racing, in 10 minutes time, then go to the emergency room. And so I managed to get it down a little bit. I went back to work, took a phone call, and then my heart rate spiked again, and I was uncomfortable. So I finished up the call, I called in sick at work, and I went straight to the emergency room, and I spent the next 4 or 5 hours there getting blood tests and EKGs and all sorts of stuff. And thankfully, there's nothing wrong with my heart. My heart was very healthy. Although, now that I'm actually taking care of myself, I can't imagine what healthy looked like back then. I'm sure it looks a lot better now. Hopefully it does. But they figured it was anxiety related. There was an anxiety attack, which I'd had before. I'd had a couple of them manifested in different ways. And I used to get them like once every 18 months, just out of nowhere. It wasn't like they were scheduled, but out of nowhere, like something would spike and I would kind of spiral. I think the previous one I had was in 2019, where I was at a job working in the city. I sat down, took a call, something happened, and I felt very unsteady, and I went for a walk around the block, and I ended up going home because I just couldn't shake it. It was a really rough one. And then I had another one at work when I was working from home. I was in a meeting with someone. I had to turn my camera off and my mic off. I said, just give me a second, I'm having a panic attack. And I managed to get under control. So those two I managed to get under control. This third one, this one that took me into the ER, I couldn't get under control. So they put me on Valium and they let me go home. And I told a very funny story about how I was very high off Valium and saying all sorts of silly things to my Uber driver. And then the next morning I went back to the hospital, picked up my car, went to the GP, and they prescribed me on something called propranolol. Propranolol. I've only been taking it for 2 years. Which is a heart medication. It's called a beta blocker, and basically it opens up your veins and slows your heart rate down. Can be dangerous if you have lots of it, but I was on quite a small dose. But I was taking it twice daily. I am taking it daily to manage my anxiety. So anyway, that whole backstory, the reason I'm telling you that brings me to my next victory. I went to my GP just recently. I was talking about my weight loss. I was talking about my mental health, and I was saying to them, I said, look, what's the usual course of this medication? Like, I've been on for 2 years now. I haven't had an attack, and whilst, they weren't scheduled and planned and stuff like that, I don't really want to be on medication for the rest of my life until, I absolutely have to, which doesn't tend to happen until you're in your 60s, if you're lucky, maybe 50s, but I've still got a good decade and a bit before I hit 50. Doctor did a couple of tests and had a look over me and asked me a few questions. And now by the time this drops, it'll be the 13th, maybe 12th of July. So in 11 days from the release of this, I will no longer be on medication. I will be off my anxiety meds for the first time in 2 years. I'm in the best shape I've been in a long, long time. And it's all just coming up Millhouse. So this isn't a particularly exciting episode. Like, if you like movie talk and stuff like that, this is not the episode for you. We are getting back to some really good movie talk soon. This is more of a James update, which I don't do too often. But so the weight loss still pushing forward for sure. Still at least, look, I would like to lose another 16 kilos, if I'm being honest. That's my stretch goal. But if I can lose another 11, I'll be really happy. So I'm over halfway to my first goal, but my stretch goal, I'm a little bit further off. But that's okay, because I fit into size small pants now. And in less than 2 weeks, I'll be off anxiety medication and life will be a little bit more normal, I think. That's all I really got for you guys. I'm sorry it's not a very exciting episode. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just a guy on a treadmill chatting about what's been going on in his life for the last few months. But we also haven't had a chance to just talk about life stuff in a while. It's been very kind of go with movie content. I can probably announce this as well. I don't know if it's a spoiler. I shouldn't get in trouble. Well, we'll find out. Nick and I will be going to the Odyssey premiere. So by the time this drops, we'll be 2 days out from that. So we'll probably talk about that on the next episode as well. We're going to talk about Evil Dead Burn. We're going to talk about Obsession, because I haven't had a chance to talk about it with anyone really. He will have he's going to try and see it before the next episode. We both went to the Evil Dead Burn premiere and had a great time there, so we'll talk about that. We'll probably have some Odyssey chit-chat as well. So there is some stuff coming up. You know what? I will throw out the things. I said I wasn't going to confirm the announcements until they've been locked in, but worst case scenario, they don't happen. So Jenna Beth Gunther, who was on last year, she talked about Spider-Man and Mulan and a bunch of stuff. Just the loveliest human being. She's coming back on the show. We're going to do a really exciting top 10 and bottom 5 list. We were just talking about it yesterday, so she's all booked in. We're recording that in the next few weeks. Can't wait to have her back on. She's an absolute sweetheart, just so much fun, very, very kind human being. So she'll be coming back. I'm going back to Midnight Terrors. I've been trying to get back on Midnight Terrors for a long time. Having a baby has kind of tied up my calendar a little bit more, but I had a chat with my wife, and we found a way to make it work, where as long as it's only a certain day, like, so my calendar is very tight, but if we can make it fit on that 1 day per week, then I can do those international ones. So Midnight Terrors, I'm coming as fast as I can. I've chosen a horror movie that I absolutely adore that they haven't talked about, so we'll talk about that. I won't spoil it yet. I'll keep that quiet. And then my friend Kayla, who has been on the podcast, she's a writer. She was on the One Tree Hill podcast with Michael from We Love Horror. She's got a podcast, and she's only done a couple of episodes, but I was meant to go on months ago now, and there was a huge storm where she lives, kind of running through her town, and it was quite dangerous, so we had to postpone, and then my life got crazy and her life got crazy, so we've been chit-chatting, but I think in August we're going to sit down and I'm going to be on that show, and again, with a movie of my choice, so very excited to do that as well. All right, I think that's going to do it. I must be closing in on 15,000 steps at this point. I'm due 30 push-ups. I need to do 30 more push-ups, so I'm going to end the podcast here. That's the life update. Hopefully the editing will allow me to get rid of all that treadmill noise. Probably won't do much for the breathing, so sorry about that. But I promise you it's all in the name of wellness and getting better. And with the updates you've heard today, you can see that it is working. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Next week, lots of movie talk. Going to be a long episode. When I get Nick Owen on, we're talking a long time. And he and I have not sat down to talk movies for over a month. So we have tons to talk about. So that's coming very, very soon. Thank you so much for listening and putting up with all my gaff. I will see you all next week.